Alrighty, go ahead and let's go ahead and get myself together here real fast, and we can try to get this started, if you will. It's been a little while since I've had a chance to record, to be honest with you, so this will be a process. So, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the newsroom, and welcome to the Goutopian News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. This is the Snort Report, brought to you by SnortBucks Coffee Company, the best beverage company ever. Here we go. So, it's been a couple days. Actually, it's probably been a better part of a week, to be honest with you, since I recorded. I got a massive binge. I went on a massive binge of recording. You guys are kind of seeing the fruits of that. You'll probably see that at least up until the beginning of October. And then there might be like a break of like 2 weeks maybe. And then you'll see everything from the end of October onwards, unless something happens. But we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But essentially, like I said, I had taken the better part of a week off. Kind of enjoyed my time. And kind of getting an itch to do some editing, and this is kind of the process of that. So we're gonna speak a little bit on one of my creations, if you will, as it pertains to Darkside Phil and other content creators being scared to speak to him or in fear of talking to him because of his detractors. And also, I think I have a little bit of a segment, or I cut in a little bit of DSP's begging that was going on Kick. Now, I'm kind of getting caught up on what the current events are, so we'll kind of do like a small speed run, and then we'll get into the subject matter at hand. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go into my favorite segment. Hopefully, one of your guys' favorite segments as well, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my TED Talk. So, where do we start? Where do we start? So, Jesus Christ. As it pertains to the current stuff, it's been boring. Like it's been slow, I should say, for the most part. His begging has ramped up immensely. Like it's almost ridiculous what his begging's like. And then the support that he's getting is also kind of strange too. At the time that you guys are seeing this, whenever you do see this, Dr. Lex, I think is what their name is back in the picture. Someone on the farms saw that they changed their names to whatever their new name is, and is over there. They're the top contributor on Kick. Kick has also unveiled their basically their variation or their version of bits. So that's a thing that DSP is begging for, and he's wage quitting. Obviously, he's complaining about he's complaining about how he can't seem. Why is it that when he plays all of the new hot releases, he doesn't get any attention, but everybody else does, so on and so forth. It's been insanely redundant, to be honest with you, a little bit, plus or minus a couple of things here or there. But I'll go back and look. I'm sure there's some select cuts that I'd like to pick up. Interestingly enough, actually, since we're speaking about Kick, LTG, Low Tier God, DSP's preferred BBC, apparently allegedly, Kick has shorted him on his Kick payment as well. I might actually go over that video now that I think about it, because the way he tries to explain it seems kind of interesting. I had heard rumblings that some people's Kick payments were a bit off for multiple reasons. Keep in mind, most people multi-stream, and maybe that's the reason why. What I did find out for sure is that obviously not everybody gets paid the same because you multi-stream. So basically, like, obviously it's view-based, and then they base off that. But there is an additional caveat in there, I guess, if you will, that seems a bit odd. So that's something that I'll look into a little bit further, and we'll find out what's what. But DSP's been talking about that as of late, as well as some other things. As for me, I've been kind of paying attention to Comicsgate still, because that's a thing that I'm very much interested in. The Smash community is continuing to eat itself ass first, so I've been paying attention to that. Big ups to the franchise of Technicals, and I have my hands on a couple other pies. and whatnot. We'll see how some of that might be thrown in as the year goes on. In any case, thank you for coming to my initial or my extended rumbling or rambling segment. Let's actually go into why we're actually here. So DSP talks about how he can't do collabs, or he's unable to do collaborations with other content creators because those other content creators are in fear of his detractors, trolls, haters, and critics. Now, in reality, one could make the argument that he actually has a point, but then it's not. Brian, for example, has never had any problems with talking to detractors as it pertains to anything, to be honest with you, leading up to when him and DSP finally had his fallout. I do remember a time where Stuttering Craig and Side Scrollers didn't really have a problem. Craig has said on multiple occasions that DSP's detractors did make some fair points. They had evidence, so they had something to work off of. They didn't. Everything wasn't baseless. It got overwhelming when certain individuals try to go the extra mile on some bullshit. It's a Gundam can probably contest to that. Keemstar early on could probably contest to that. It would be certain individuals who were clearly pushing a narrative or going way too far about the bullshit, which maybe made people a bit more hesitant to deal with them. So that's a thing. And as it pertains to Gundam, for example, like I said, he has LWO as his editor. He's been on that being said at least twice. He's collaborated with another detractor or two about some stuff. So he never had any intimidation or anything about it. There, like I said, there may have been a set individual, you know what I'm saying, or a small group of individuals that may have been like, all right, let me give you guys some space because you guys are taking this a little too far. But I don't think that speaks to the overall group. Now, in recent times, if you will, the early bird situation doesn't look good. That DM damn sure don't look good because it looks more like it didn't come across as the apology that Duty thought it was. It sounds really more like, hey, I'm doing this. You're going to take it, and you're going to take it until I get what I want out of DSP. That's kind of what it really sounded like. It sounded really more like intimidation and maybe even a low-key threat. So DSP can point at some situation like that, but as Duty don't speak for the whole. You don't speak for the group at large. He says he doesn't like the concept of a community. He wants to go off and do whatever he wants. Fair enough, then he handles the consequences that come with that. So with that being said, DSP can't lump all of us together by his own definition, let alone Duty says he doesn't stand on it like that. He wants to do what he wants. So they said. I didn't actually watch the video where he said that, so I don't know. So if that is the case, then it is what it is. But if you're talking about just the overall history of people interacting with DSP detractors, they usually don't want to deal with DSP because they don't want to deal with DSP. Don't get me wrong. The hate watching that comes along with that, the detractor dollar is beneficial in the short term, but certainly not in the long term because you're not going to keep those people there. Ask Stuttering Craig and Side Scrollers about that. But mainly, I think the larger issue here is because of DSP. He's done everything in his power to exhibit himself as a very untrustworthy, dishonest person. Someone who will lie to get his way. He's someone who will tell you what he thinks you want to hear so he can get his way, so he can make his way, so he can have his way. You don't want to deal with somebody like that. And that's the reason why most FGC guys won't fuck with him. On top of the fact that he's probably talked shit about them at one time or another. And or someone that they know, or someone that they're cool with or affiliated with, or so on and so forth. And this is one of the things that DSP, from a social standpoint, never understood. If you talk shit about one guy, right, you may very well make the people around him feel a certain type of way. So why would they deal with you when you ain't already spoken poorly on one of their peoples? It don't make a whole lot of sense. DSP doesn't have any real inherent value that he brings to the table. Truth be told, the only equity, in air quotes, the only equity that he really has, so to speak, is the detractors, if you will. But even then, he can't control their income, their capital. So he really just has that viewership and that's it. And they're automatically against him. He doesn't have anything else. He's not going to tell a dent to donate to any other content creator. He damn sure didn't do that during Kino Casino, right? So when DSP brings up shaky ass shit like this, um, he fails to realize that your words carry weight, and there's going to be some type of responsibility beyond that. You can throw everything on Duty or Tevin or whoever the fuck you feel like, if you will, but most people outside of the DSP Detractor community like Tevin, and or they respect him. So you can't even make that stick on most people except for, yet again, this small few, if you will. They don't speak for the many, to be honest with you. So DSP's real folly, or his actual problem is himself. It always has been. It always will be. The moment he realizes that, then the better off he'll be. But at the same time, this was he made this bet. He's the one who said he wanted to do his own content, his own way, one man army. You know what I'm saying? One man show type situation. That's it, and it shows. You know, when you hear somebody speaking, especially someone who does this every day like DSP does, you can tell he doesn't have a lot of human interaction. Not in life, not with the dents that are talking to him. He's just reacting to them, just like he does in fighting games. He just reacts. He doesn't actually know anything. And that's why he gets frustrated when stuff gets brought up that isn't related to him or that he doesn't have any experience in, which is pathetic, by the way. He has more than enough time in his quote unquote life to be able to branch out and learn new things, but he's not interested in anything. His only real interest is basically begging his addictions and being salty that everybody else has pretty much lapped him in more ways than one. He doesn't have anything else. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, before we go ahead and end this, because this is getting a little longer than I thought it would, what does he actually bring to the table in any type of conversation in his air quotes field, right? So let's go ahead and break that down. Let's say gaming, even though he's not a gamer. Let's say fighting games, even though he really doesn't give a shit about fighting games, only gives a shit about Super Turbo. And even then, for someone who has professed his love for Street Fighter and mainly Super Turbo for damn near 20 years, there's so much that he doesn't know, and his actual knowledge of the game is so little, so minute or micro, if you will. It's almost embarrassing. It's almost embarrassing that you say that you love this thing here, you care about this thing here, you've put so much time and effort in this thing here, and he plays randoms online, and he's like, I've never seen that before. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know. How do you devote 20 years to something and don't know jack shit about it? How do you do that? Sounds like some Review Tech USA shit. It doesn't make any sense. So, as it pertains to video games, we can just go ahead and push that off the board. All of his supposed childhood memories and everything is just smoke and mirrors. It's just so he can include himself into the conversation. If you want to go ahead and speak on fighting games, mainly Street Fighter in particular, he doesn't have anything to add to that. He's not a very good player when you think about it. He's a reactionary player. That's it. His reflexes and reactions are gone now. Can't tell you anything about frame data. They can't tell you shit about how to properly initiate a fight as it pertains to footsies or whatever. Hence the reason why he won't break down his own matches. And as it pertains to the FGC as a whole, the only thing he's going to be able to bring up is drama, which is funny because he says he don't want to talk about drama. But that's all he knows. He doesn't have any really good memories of the FGC outside of John and Howard. And those guys ain't picked up and left him. So what does he really have to bring to the table on that? If he wants to bitch and complain about YouTube and whatever his experiences are with that, he's gone out of his way to make almost every mistake possible. I find it almost astounding, to be honest with you, that he's made the mistakes that he's made on not just YouTube, but on the internet at large. And people were still willing to give him money to push him forward, whether out of just actual trolling or because they legitimately care about him or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm absolutely astounded by that. And no matter what subject matter you choose or that he chooses to speak on, the negative is going to always outweigh the positive. So, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you one more time and then we can move on. Who's really holding who back from DSP doing collaborations with people? And then secondly, what does he actually bring to the table? What does he actually have to talk about? He's going to just try to piggyback off other people and make that work? I don't think that works. But in any case, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's go ahead and move on to our video at hand. Sorry about that. I had to step away for like 15 minutes. I mean, obviously that didn't affect any of you guys because you didn't actually see it. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get back to what we were doing. Chessboard, what is our video in question? Excuse me. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if we can get this ball rolling. Let's make sure this is the right video.
I'd have come from Kick if you.
There we go. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Raw Phil. Big ups. And this was cut by yours truly, so if there's any issues, blame that on me. Because Diggs and everybody else is on vacation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with, like I said, Raw Phil. Darkside Phil speaks on other content creators' fear of collaborating with him because of his detractors. This is from September 9th of 2025, the year of the snake. The snakening. And yet again, actually, to be honest with you, I should have put that in my TED Talk if I haven't already covered it. But like, look at how he treated Kino Casino. Look at how he treated John and Howard. I mean, well, I'm pretty sure I said John and Howard. But look at everybody he's ever collaborated with for the most part. He fucked all of them over in one way, shape, or form. But in recent years, look at the situation with side scrollers. How he lied to them for 5 straight hours to try to justify it. Look at what he ended up doing to Stutter and Craig when they had their one-on-one. Look at what he ended up doing with Kino Casino and how he basically plotted for 8 months to fuck them over. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, who wants to deal with that? You know what I mean? Who can? Who has the? Who would want to participate with someone like that? He's clearly shown that he has no scruples. He has no morals. He has no values. He'll lie to you at a drop of a hat. And more than likely, he is plotting to fuck you over in some way, shape, or form the first chance that he gets. As long as the money's coming in and he feels like socially, his social credit score is going up, if you will, you're good, or everything can be good. But the moment something dips, usually once, then that's when the wage quit mentality gets in. Then he also starts to become resentful to you because you should have done more. Instead of expecting more out of him, you should have done more. You should have gone that extra mile. You should have given the 110% and or exceeding that. That's where you start getting into these problems and issues. But semantics. Let's go ahead and tap in and we'll see where we're at with this. Here we go.
I'd have come from Kick if you can believe it. Still 0. I go the extra mile, and what do? Kick kicks me in the ass and doesn't reward. No support, no reward, nothing. All right, see? You see what happened? I complained enough, and then Extra Bondage just gifted 2 subs. So you see why I do it? I whined like a baby enough, like a spoiled brat, and I got 2 subs. That's why I do it. It's called effective whining. Thank you.
And the thing is, at what cost, right? At what cost is it worth, or is the cost too high, or shouldn't he look at it at the cost being too high doing this? Having to beg, plead, bitch, complain, down talk people just to get a couple $100 a day out of them? Like, you remember that you're putting this stuff online, right, Phil? You do know that just because you try to edit some of your begging out, a lot of that's there. It's going to get clipped. And I understand that's what you're trying to use as the basis of your supposed lawsuit, yada, 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 yada. But then again, you can't sit there and say that these people are slandering me when we have the raw cut, so to speak. We have the raw cut of you doing these things, right? And you just edited them out of your content. It didn't mean it didn't happen. You certainly did it. Just because you eliminated that shit from your channel doesn't mean that it didn't happen. And that's the reason why the live streams can't be left unlisted. That's why they got to be deleted. Because Lord knows someone gets their hands on that URL and then they actually find those begging segments and they're like, oh, well, you keep talking about context, Phil. You keep saying that these people are lying on you, DSP, but it's all right here. Just because you chose to edit it out doesn't mean it didn't happen. And then if you're not ashamed of your begging, then why are you so quick to remove those things? If it's all about support, contributions, if this is what regular or other streamers and content creators do, then why are you so ashamed of it that you feel the need to cut it out? Something to think about.
Extra bondage for 2 subs. Finally, we got some kick support today. Would have been great to have it earlier today so I get paid for it this week, but I guess I got to take what I can get. Thank you.
That's icky. Let me bring that part back. That's icky.
Finally, we got some kick support today. Would have been great to have it earlier today so I get paid for it this week, but I guess I got to take what I can get. Thank you, Extra Bondage, for for 2 subs tonight.
Got no shame. And that right there might be the earmarks of a good beggar, just being absolutely fucking shameless. You know what I'm saying? And this is why, jokingly, of course, but I'm still waiting. If DSP has pride, I'm waiting for him to display it, or I'm waiting for someone to point it out. So, you know what I'm saying? Either there's something that I'm missing, or some of you guys don't know what pride is. And I don't think it's necessarily the latter. I just think that you got some people will try to give DSP anything. Anything. Because if you really strip DSP down to the pork grinds, if you will, you're going to find that there's nothing that you can really give him. He doesn't have any redeemable qualities. There's nothing about him that stands out or makes him unique, special, useful, or contributing to society as a whole. He's as weak, lazy, and useless as the very people who he says that are weak, lazy, and useless. That's what I think it is. I don't necessarily think it's troll remorse. I think it's just people just trying to give him something. You know what I mean? And that's a holdover from, you know, earlier detractors to some degree. Just something.
Now we're over the $50 threshold. We're already a third of the way to our goals here for Gears of War Reloaded. Now, let's keep that momentum rolling. Let's get some support tonight. Let's hit that goal. We're only 3 goals away from DSP Tries It, the Y2K Decades menu from Taco Bell. You know you want it. I know I want it. This mouth is craving it.
I heard that shit was an absolute shit fest. And that he was like deep throating like what was it? The Doritos Loco Gorditas, I think they were? Or was it the double layers? I can't remember now. But the point being, though, is like any of his fucking DSP Tries It or DSP Slops It, it just looks incredibly awkward and unappealing. And then he bitched about it, I'm sure.
Let's hit that goal.
But I do think, though, I have to say this. I do think that DSP Tries It is probably, at least in its current form, is probably the most lucrative con that he's had since Fest Street. I have to say. To convince a bunch of idiots to give you $1,500 so you can buy $40, $60, $80, maybe $100 after the DoorDash fees of food. You know what I'm saying? To have $1,400 in fucking profit. I gotta say, it's kind of crazy. I'll give him that. That's kind of wild that he's able to pull that off. I gotta give him credit. You know what I'm saying? And then if you hit 10 of those, that's 15 grand. That's 15 grand to watch this idiot, eat slop 10 times in a row and then get a mediocre fucking marathon that's not going to mean jack shit worth of jack shit. Gotta say, that's probably one of the best cons that he's ever pulled off.
And let's get some support. Lance Catamaran just gifted a sub over on Kick. That's what I'm talking about. Lance Catamaran doing what he can. Thanks for the sub, Lance. Another $5. We're now at 58 of support. Look at this. V Souza with a $5 R. I don't even know what that is. What is R currency? I don't even know what the hell that is. Rubles?
Uh-oh, tipquisition coming. I wonder what's in this that I thought would be worthwhile, though.
Ah, it's loud as fuck. Ah.
Definition of a goddamn
R
Muppet.
to USD. Here it is. So you get 5. That's the equivalent of 29 cents. I'm just going to ban you right now.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. You banned him for that? Oh, let's go back. That's funny.
R to USD. Here it is. So you get 5. That's the equivalent of 29 cents. I'm just going to ban you right now. Here we go.
Oh, wow.
Here we go. Get banned.
Oh, shit.
I can't ban them. Did they already get banned? They won't even let me ban them. I'm trying.
How are you going to ban someone for donating 29 cents to you, though? It'd be different if it was like 20. Well, no. If it was like $2.20, but can't really do that. I don't know, man. I just, like, you're gonna really ban somebody for 29 cents? Like, fuck it, it's not even a meme. It should be one now, though, but it's not even a meme.
Won't even let me. Hold on. There we go. Okay, I got rid of him. Fuck.
Wow.
Okay. John Number just did a $5 super chat. Oh, my controller's not on. Okay. John Number says, been a while since I contributed. Kronos New Dawn looks interesting. I hope that you and your household are doing well. Big love to Jasper. Thank you, John. We are doing well, and Kronos is interesting. It's getting more interesting the further in we get.
Well, we don't actually know about Jasper because we can't get him that blood test, so we have no clue if he's doing all right or not. We don't know if he's shitting, pissing everywhere. We don't know if he's randomly throwing up behind the bed. You guys know. You know what I'm saying? These are all things that he's done before, so we have no real clue if he's actually okay or not. And Cat, well, Cat is Cat.
Lore is seriously good. It is. It's seriously good. It's actually a great story. The gameplay is so jarring because you never have enough resources and your character moves like they have a stick up their ass. They can't move. They're like a slow, lumbering tank, so you can't really dodge anything. So you have to always be carefully, painstakingly doing combat, and
it's acting like he's never played a game where resource management is a thing. All right, then. But he's a gamer, though, right? A lifelong gamer at that. Okay.
it's very different from other modern games, to say the least. Like, other modern games are so different, so you just...
No, other modern games are a lot more hand-holdy, if you will. And that right there is kind of part of the problem with our current games and whatnot, is the fact that people do get their hands held a little too goddamn much. Like, for example, where I'm at in the current timeline, Battlefield 6, and I'm starting to get worried about where they're going with this shit. But Battlefield 6 is deciding to tone down or retune, I should say, their aim assist. They're not gonna give you so much of it. So you're gonna, need to actually learn how to aim properly. And you got the Call of Duty, you got some of the guys, I should say, some of the Call of Duty streamers that are already bitching and complaining about it. They're already mad that they nerfed sliding, which basically kills slide canceling to some degree, so on and so forth. And I think, which is probably the more fascinating aspect of it, is watching these Call of Duty guys, some of them, not all of them, but watching some of these Call of Duty guys play Battlefield and look like chickens with their heads cut off or can't aim for shit, just goes to show how much compensation that fucking Call of Duty actually gives you. Keep in mind, I'm sure most of you as well, you came up in a time where people who were good at Call of Duty were actually good at FPS shooters, not just Call of Duty. We've kind of lost that. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong, there are people who play multiple FPSs and whatever, and their variety in the variance to their skill level is going to be here or there. But for the most part, at least the your OGs, if you will, of Call of Duty, those guys used to play more than just Call of Duty. Now, you just get people like fucking Swag, who's just trying to farm for clips, and that's it. You don't really have shit else to offer. And it shows. Like, it really shows how much Call of Duty carries him. And that's why the moment that they throw a care package at him, or they send him, or they offer him to go on a trip, he's quick to go out there and do it. But then he's going to turn around and say, oh, well, Battlefield needs to be more like Call of Duty. But that don't make no damn sense, because why would you want to turn something into the thing that you hate? Let me be very quick about this. People who are complaining about Call of Duty, myself included, you've got a demographic within that who are saying Battlefield needs to be more like Call of Duty. But why would you want Battlefield to turn into the thing that you hate, or the thing that you dislike, or the thing that you have a problem with? What sense does that make? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a level of, like, retardation that I just don't. It's amazing that people aren't grasping, and more importantly than that, that there isn't more people calling it out. It's weird, but going back to it, how my tie-in, a lot of that behavior falls back on like people like DSP who have these fucking ridiculous takes, and they get spread around, and some of these developers think, well, man, maybe the people in our player base are really this stupid. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we do need to slather everything with yellow paint. Maybe we do need to give you massive save states, unless you're getting into higher difficulty, and then we can limit it. Maybe we do need to give you all these different markers to tell you where to go, instead of allowing you to actually play through the game and figure out things for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that DSP is the reason why games are being dumbed down. I'm saying that DSP is a shining example of why our society kind of looks at things the way they do, and why, by proxy, things around us is being dumbed down. You know what I mean? He's part of a much larger problem, but he's very much a catalyst. He's someone that you can point at, if you will, and be like, that's an example of some of the issues that we have. And that's why he's so defensive when he can't do shit, because he knows he's part of the problem. You know what I mean? Like, most of these games are for children, and he himself, at 40 something years old, can't figure shit out and is too lazy to even try. If he can't do it once, one take Drake, then it's not worth doing. All right, handhold me through it now. I tried and I tried in the game, and the game failed me. So now you guys got to tell me what to do. Something to think about.
Have to like adjust to the gameplay style, but I am getting adjusted and I'm making great progress and enjoying the game. So thank you for that, John. We're now at 63 of support. Also, it looks like Extra Bondage gifted a third membership. Excuse me, a third sub. Thank you, Extra Bondage. So with that, we're now up to 68 of support. Let's go, let's go. Let's keep that rolling, and let's hit that goal tonight. Thank you, guys. All right, are we ready to resume? Okay. Ready? Let's begin. Let's begin. Blow my whistle, bitch.
How big is this goddamn mine?
Ooh, it's loud.
We must be close.
The shotgun and the boom shot is not very effective
Okay.
loadout, but oh, here we go. Fuck. Yeah, I'm just gonna get the Lancer instead of this. I'd rather have the Lancer.
Nice.
Okay. So there we go. So before we go through this door, 2 shout outs to do. First off, hold on. Def Don't Twert. Very hard to say. $10 super chat. Thank you. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Sorry about that, but thank you for that. You got us over 100 of support tonight, and I really appreciate that. You're one of the big first wave YouTube channels around gaming and related. Lolcow, in my opinion, is popular because they aggregate similar people. Any plans to collaborate with others in the first wave from back in the day? The thing is, most people from back in the day, like first wave YouTubers, don't do it anymore.
Well, yeah, they actually made a bunch of money, or they made a bunch of contacts within the industry, or both, and they were able to transition into something else. They were able to reinvest in themselves and then go and do something else and be successful doing that. Or, you know, they did it for a while, they were done, and they were, you know, and that was it. You know what I'm saying? No one steps into this thinking that this is going to be a full-time career that you're going to dedicate all this time to. If not, you start ending up like Ninja, for example, where you're incredibly miserable because you can't really transition to do something else because of how you're branded, for example. Stuff like that. Actually, I think Low Tier God had a take on that too. I might actually go over that, because it shows a little bit how closed-minded LTG is as it pertains to business. To be honest with you, like, money doesn't fix everything, to be honest with you. And if you don't have any other interests, or if you've never displayed any real range in doing something, once you do, you might be scared to lose what little you have, even though you're upset with what little you have already. But anyway, that's another topic for another day. As it pertains to DSP, though, this was always going to be the plan. He was going to live and die by this. You know what I'm saying? And like he made all that money and squandered it on bullshit because he always thought that there was going to be even more money that was going to follow up on it. And once the money slowed down, he had to blame, or not that he had to, but he did. He blamed everybody under the sun, from YouTube to other successful content creators on YouTube, to the concept of streaming itself, to the fans being fickle and having short attention spans, and so on and so forth, to make himself feel better and make himself seem like he's not the problem. DSP never had any aspects to do, or any aspirations, I should say, to do anything else than what he's doing. He can barely do this. So what makes you think? And he's been fired from damn near every other job that he's ever had. What else was he going to be able to do? What could he really build off of this? Because no matter what community that he floats through, he somehow, some way, figures out a way to alienate himself to those people. It's actually pretty astounding, to be honest with you. The guy is legitimately cancer. And most people, or most communities, were aware enough to get him out before he could really get himself set in. Going back to my analogy about games being dumbed down and how he is part of the problem.
Right? Like, for example, the creatures, or SSOHPKC in particular, they were always cool with me. And if they were still around, all actively doing content,
I mean, what do you mean cool with you, though? You mean like if they saw you online, or if they caught up to you on Twitter or something, and be like, hey, DSP, how you doing? Like, they were cordial. You know what I'm saying? You guys weren't friends. Like, you know what I'm saying? There was no established relationship. And that's the thing that Flamenco actually displays this too, but a lot of people do. Where just because you guys might, you know what I'm saying? Like, you put out a tweet, for example, and someone likes that tweet, that don't make y'all friends. Okay, you said something that they agree with, or you may have made yourself a point. That's it. You guys aren't friends, Phil. You've never been in a conversation with those people, as far as we know, or at least nothing that they're willing to admit, and nothing that I can believe that you wouldn't lie about. You've never had any type of real correlation with any of them. And if that was the case, they would have asked you to collab with them sooner. Before now that you're desperate and that you're mad that you've been completely and utterly overlooked. That's what this shit comes down to. Think about, or think no further than the situation with Stuttering Craig. He hadn't seen Stuttering Craig in person for what, 10 plus years before they actually linked up for the interview / interrogation / whatever you want to call it. But DSP made it sound like they were the best of friends, and he was completely and utterly entrenched into the side scroll community. He wasn't. He watched some of their videos. He showed up to one of their events. They were kind to him, as they were to a lot of people, and they allowed him to participate for a day. Whoop-de-doo. It don't make y'all friends. You know what I'm saying? And I think people just don't understand. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're chronically online, as DSP is. He doesn't understand what real friendship is anymore. If you show a minute of kindness to him, he automatically thinks that's the establishment of a relationship, and it's not. And I think that's even more dangerous than some of the more parasocial relationships that him and his audience have, I think. Especially because his psyche is already damaged. You know what I'm saying?
probably I would talk to them, but they kind of all retired and moved on and did other things, right? Like, there's no one from the era that I originated from that really does it anymore, because everyone who did it back then either had to completely change because the YouTube algorithm doesn't favor that kind of content anymore, or they just quit. So really, they're all kind of gone.
And then it's funny how the two examples, or the two end games, is something that is essentially directly or directed, I should say, at him. Either, hey, you're not doing well enough, you're going to have to quit because you can't do this for a living, hence the reason for the begging, but that's not true because he's been begging since day one. Or they had to change up their content because of the algorithm. Your content was always bad, though. You were just a very big guppy in a very small pool or puddle of water. Like, it is what it was. The content was always trash. It was always slop. The fact that you were able to make as much as he was able to make off of it, and for so long, is probably what's truly extraordinary, but it was never good. You know what I'm saying? It was never good at all. And that, and him spamming 60 videos a day is just ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? It was ridiculous back then. Just imagine him doing that shit now. I wonder if YouTube would even step in on that now. I don't think so, but it's interesting to dream about it.
You know what I mean? Like, think about it. So, you know, and the thing is, anyone who would want to collaborate, I have reached out to a few people who I actually think, like, it would be interesting to see a crossover between. No one you're thinking of, too. I'm talking about, like, YouTube channels that cover interesting topics of things that I'd be interested in, and I'd like to add my 2 cents into. I've reached out in the last year. I reached out to a lot of different places.
Yeah, you went sat there and giving people gin o'clock fucking Discord messages or tweets to these people. And for one, they're probably like, "What the fuck's he doing up this late?" And two, his speech is probably, or his wording is probably so slurred that they probably couldn't make anything out of it. And then even on top of that, it's like, why bother? It's easier to say, "Hey man, that sounds pretty cool, but nah, we're good, man. You know, best of luck to you though. We hope things work out." Like it makes a lot more sense to do so. And that's just off of what he's projecting. You know what I'm saying? We're not even talking about any outside factors yet.
Literally, the conversation goes exactly like this every single time. Wow, that's an interesting idea. I bet that would be a great conversation or a great video to put out, but we don't want to be harassed by your detractors. We don't want to be posted up and doxed on KiwiFarms, so we pass. And that has happened. I'm not even kidding. Probably 7 different opportunities that I tried to reach out and collab, and they all say exactly the same thing.
I'm pretty sure that's a lie. And if that's the case, I'd love to see some DMs on that. But it's very obvious he's not going to show DMs. 2 reasons. One, let's act like he's a decent person in some way, shape, or form, and he's not willing to show other people's DMs, even though he's done that before. And 2, I'm pretty confident that's a lie. So the first thing they bring up is your detractors, and the second thing they bring up is the farms. You know, Phil, the farms isn't as well known as you think it is, right? Like, yeah, it's kind of gotten some mainstream things, notoriety because of like Liz Fawn Jones, Keffels, and a few other people. For various reasons, but it's really not that well known in most gaming or even social circles like that. You know what I'm saying? We're literally in the dark times, or in the darker sectors, if you will, of the internet, where that's pretty niche, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's as widespread as he thinks it is. But even if it was, they're not giving you money. And more importantly than that, if more than likely they already have like public profiles online anyway. So it's not like, you know, DSP's trying to give you the implication that these people are going to be doxxed. These people would probably have already been doxxed, or they've already put their information out there willingly, whether Facebook or Instagram or whatever the fuck. So, you know what I'm saying? You want to keep weighing this out. And then as it pertains to the detractor problem, if you will, let's call it that, they're going to send them clips of some of the crazy shit that you said, which would probably give them more than enough cause to be like, you know what? Yeah, no. Sorry, Phil. So it's not the double negative that he makes it out to be, or the struggle session he's trying to put on to make it seem like they're completely and utterly having to default on dealing with him because of these factors.
I'm talking people who are big, people who are small, people who are in between, all of them. None of them want to associate because they just don't want to be harassed by people on KiwiFarms and my detractors. So It is what it is. Death by Moogle did a $2 super chat and said something here that I can't read, but thank you, Death by Moogle. And then the same person, however you say your name, $5 super chat says, maybe bring them back for a show or two. People would love to hear from you then. Maybe stuff like Painkiller already. People want to see the real use. Painkiller already doesn't like me. Are you kidding me?
Well, yeah, he ain't talk shit about them, so there's no reason for that. And he instigated that. So, yeah, of course, that's not going to be a thing.
They've brought me up in a negative light many times over the years. They definitely don't like the fact that a few years ago I commentated on the Wings of Redemption documentary and basically said that they used Wings.
They did. I mean, to be honest, Wings didn't help the situation, but they did use them. I mean, it's true. Or at least Woody did anyway.
Which they did. They completely used him for content, which is messed up.
I mean, then again, he's complaining that they used Wings for content while he himself was making money off of Wings' misery through content. Imagine that.
That's never going to happen.
Nice. Now what? There. Situation's foobar here. Hostiles everywhere. We're getting the hell out. Roger that. Watch your ass. We'll see you at the house.
This date just won't end.
Yeah.
Here's the truth, guys.
They gave me 3 odds and a cot.
It's amazing to me a pathological liar is going to sit there and say, here's the truth. That's like he knows what that is.
Here's the truth. I have no problems collaborating with someone as long as it's a topic that I feel I can add something to, and that would be something that's fun or constructive. Like, for example,
You have nothing that you can't add to anything, though. You don't know anything. And you look at everything from such a skewed... that's the term I'll use for it. You look at everything from such a skewed standpoint, i.e. everything that negatively affected him, that it doesn't mean anything. Like, there's a far larger game at foot, and he don't know, because he's only cared about the little bubble that he's in. And that means he would have to acknowledge how insignificant he is in the grand scheme of things. He don't want to do that. But then he doesn't want to have to admit that, oh, well, I'm completely and utterly ignorant to what I'm doing and what's going on around me, and I'm just winging it. So that's not going to work. Like, he's between a rock and a hard place, certainly.
say someone wanted to have me on a show, a panel about YouTube and how YouTube has changed over the years, the algorithm, ads, all that stuff. You have no idea the wealth of knowledge I have.
Yeah, oh, you're going to talk about... See, here's the thing. First off, that doesn't make any sense. Because you were under an MCN for a number of years, and you actually shitted on other people who weren't on under managed partnerships or weren't part of MCNs. So that's his first problem. Someone will eventually find that. Secondly, you somehow got yourself fucked out of 2 fucking MCNs while damn near getting conned into a 3rd. So what wealth of knowledge do you have there? On top of that, you want to go into all of those special announcement, emergency videos, I need help videos. Every time YouTube changes a little thing about anything, you're going to talk about that? You know how humiliating that shit is? And each and every one of those videos was essentially a begging video based on his circumstances. You really want to speak on that? You really think those are things you should bring to the forefront? On top of the fact, too, just in case you didn't catch this, I like the fact that he wants to be a coward and hide behind the panel format. Because now, if he's not the actual... if he's not up there solo, and he's not the direct focus of whoever it is that he's speaking to, then he thinks that alleviates responsibility off of him a little bit, or it takes some of the pressure off. If there's 3 or 4 other people up there, as well as the people who are hosting the podcast or whatever the situation is, then it may limit the chances of people being able to talk about his quote-unquote dramas, unless everybody on the panel does so. So even in that situation, he's depending on people's good grace, I guess, so he doesn't get targeted. You know how fucking crazy you must be to have to think like that? That every situation you're in, you have to make sure that there's someone that can always cover your ass, so you're never at a deficit? That's wild when you think about it like that. But that's how it is.
Being a 17-year YouTuber, okay? What if someone wanted to know about the old school FGC and how things were back in the day?
There are plenty of resources out there for that, just like with the previous point, as it pertains to YouTube back in the day. There's plenty of videos out there on that with far more credible people who can really actually break down what the overall situation was, not just their own individual scenarios. So womp womp to that.
I have unprecedented levels of knowledge. I was there at every level, as a low-level player, as a pro player, as a tournament organizer, throughout a 15 to 20-year span.
So you were around when Mr. Wiz was going ahead and molesting those kids, and you didn't say shit about it, and just went along with the narrative that, oh, it's a joke, but it's a dirty little thing that everybody knows about, but no one wants to speak up on. Until it finally got exposed, and then you wanted to speak on it. But by then, your voice didn't mean anything then, let alone now. So it didn't matter either which way. You want to talk about that? And I heard some people being like, oh, well, didn't he stand on business for Justin? You know, that one tournament where, I don't know if it was Battle by the Bay or if it was one of the earlier EVOs. He stood up for Justin. You know what I'm saying? He did the right thing for Justin. Yeah, a bunch of people did. A bunch of people did. It wasn't just DSP holding it up saying, oh, you need to pay that kid what he, you know, what the payout needs to be. There was a bunch of people who did that. There's a bunch of people who did that. So what's the difference? Okay, congratulations. He gets that one thing. But it must not have meant much when DSP ain't spent the decade since then, the decade plus, I should say, since then, shitting on Justin at every fucking, at every turn. So it almost makes it seem like, ladies and gentlemen, or one could perceive it as he did it for clout. He did it so he could buddy up with Justin and shit and be like, see, buddy, I got your back. When secretly he was jealous of Justin, he envied Justin, and more than likely he hated Justin for a variety of reasons. I'll let you go ahead and insert in wherever you want to insert in there. Choose your own adventure.
No one wants to talk to me about that. What they want to know about is drama. Hey, what insulting thing can we bring up? What bullshit can we say about this? What about this detractor rumor? Are you going to defend yourself? No, I don't care about that shit. And that's all anyone wants to talk about.
Because you don't see that as a problem in that that's the only thing that people see you for? You don't think that's an issue or a problem? And Rich has been doing that for the better part of a decade. You don't think that was an issue? People treat you the way that you display yourself or the way that you represent yourself. And now he wants to be mad. Well, he's been mad. But now he wants to be mad that he's treated in such way. You did it to yourself. If you didn't act like a human piece of garbage, I'd like to say, realistically, that they wouldn't treat you as such. But truth be told is they may still treat him as such. It is what it is. But he did it to himself. You can't blame people for that.
Because that's what brings views on YouTube and on the internet in general. Drama. And I don't want to have anything to do with it. All I want to do, play games, chill with you guys, have a good time. That's all I'm interested in. Not the nonsense that these morons want to bring up constantly, so I just stick to myself.
So everybody who you might be able to have a conversation with, you don't want to talk to them because they're all morons, because they only want to talk about the drama. But maybe, just maybe, because he's stupid, by the way, keep this in mind, but maybe if you actually gave some actual clarification to some of these situations, which he can't because he knows he's already dead to rights. But let's say, if you were able to give some clarification to the situation, maybe, just maybe, people could see you in a positive light. Oh, well, we can't do that. And why can't we do that, ladies and gentlemen? Because an answer is an answer. It doesn't matter if it's honest or not. An answer is an answer. You see how he ain't sat there and boxed himself in and continued to do so? Not even boxed himself in. He's walled himself in. He basically threw himself into a well and then closed it off himself. No one wants to sit around and be lied to for 1 hour, 2 hours, or 5 hours. No one wants that. And he knows that's the only defense that he has. Because he only cares about the optics right then and there. And more importantly than that, he knows that anybody that he talks to is already going to be brought up to speed in some way, shape, or form. Right? Or if not, just talking to him for any extended period of time, you're going to get the feeling that he's lying to you. He gives off that type of energy. And I think he's aware of that too.
Okay. Like little... Oh, look at this. Wow, that's a good glass effect.
Riveting.
Another Hammer of Dawn? There's got to be a reason why there's all these Hammer of Dawns out here, right?
And yet we still haven't picked up a single one. Now I remember why I put this here.
There you go.
I want you to remember this moment. Lean in, manual.
Okay. There's got to be a reason, meaning probably one of those cedar things is going to show up again. So I don't want it yet.
So instead of picking up the weapon and being prepared for the problem, he's going to try to figure out a way around it so he don't have to deal with it. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, that should harken back to all of you who've been watching this for any period of time. The way DSP does anything is usually the way he does everything. It's just what it is. Like the handhold, like as if the game isn't hand holding him enough. Still completely and utterly avoids it. Oh, I don't want to have to do any more work. I'm not paid enough per hour to do so.
Whoa, what the fuck? He scared me. He teleported in. Made me poop my pants. Why are there trees with plaques on them? What the hell are these supposed to be? That's bizarre, no? What the hell? That's really weird. Oh, fucking shit. Well, now I know why we need the Hammer of Dawn, but I don't have it. I didn't pick it up.
Try to get around quietly.
Oh shit! And you can already hear it in his tone that he wants to blame the game for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, how was I supposed to know? Saw multiple of them on the ground. Knew that something was going to eventually come up. Chose not to. Then when that thing comes up, oh, why didn't the game tell me to do it? Why didn't the game tell me to pick it up? I didn't know.
I can't jump this. Why not? They won't let me. Oh my god.
Wow.
Can't make it. We need to use the hammer.
I gotta find the hammer. Do you see the hammer anywhere?
Berserker. Satellite.
Affirmative.
Sky.
I don't see a Hammer of Dawn. It was upstairs, and I didn't know I was gonna need it to fight a Berserker.
Didn't know I was going to need it to fight a Berserker. Knowing damn well that there was multiple ones on the ground, he was going to eventually need it for something. You can't make this shit up, bro. Useless. Absolutely fucking useless.
I don't see a Hammer of Dawn anywhere. Here it is. Okay. It glitched. It didn't work. Great.
Sorry about that. I had to step away for a minute. So is he spamming the is he spamming the hammer and shit still? Yeah, actually we're almost done with it. Alright, let's finish this out.
Nice. Extra kickflip. Now this is open. Look.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah?
Wow.
Okay, hold on. As you can see, someone has come into the YouTube chat with 1 million dummy accounts to troll, so I'm trying to take care of it. Guys, we're in the final half hour of the stream. You've been great so far. Thank you for hanging out. Thanks for your support. We're, what, 35 away from hitting the goal? Let's hit the goal right now. Let's go. Let's hit it. And that way we'll be in line for DSP tries it, possibly even tomorrow. Simply Eddie says, a tip for Kronos, shoot orphans in the leg, makes them fall. Oh, can you really? I had no clue. The game had told you to shoot them in the head. That's why I had done that. The game literally says shoot them in the head. It never said shoot them in the leg.
Man, you could have experimented though. You could have tried something different. He never does that. Like the moment he's given let's call it a clear directive, he won't deviate from it for a single solitary second. But if you think about it from the blame standpoint, it works in his favor not to do so. Because hey, the game told me to do this. Oh, it didn't. It's not working. Well, it's the game's fault. It's the developer's fault. It's the programmer's fault. You know what I'm saying? Like, he goes out of his way and spends more time trying to figure out how to blame other things for his own problems or his own shortcomings instead of just taking responsibility and said, you fucked up. Everybody knows you're stupid. So it's not like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like someone's going to come in and automatically think that you're this fucking legendary gamer that you put yourself out there as. Everybody knows you're fucking inept. Like, what are you trying to prove?
That's why I always did it in the head, so okay. I'll have to do that next time, thanks. I'm gonna try that when I play it again in a couple days, or a few days.
If he remembers. Alright. So there you go on that. Silly ass shit. But short and sweet, to say the very least. Big ups to Raw Phil. Yeah, like it really all comes down to oh, he needs safe topics. Like, here's the thing. If any, like, let's say they go the sandwich route, right? Where you start off with an opening of who you are, you go into a topic that you go into, you know, some milquetoast type shit, then you get into a subject matter, then you get into the drama and whatnot, which is what people are really going to be there for, whatever controversies he's been in and whatnot, just like reality television was, and so on and so forth. And then you finish off on a positive note. If he was, quote unquote, willing to play the game like he wants Low Tier God to do, what's he have to worry about? Well, the reality is he has way too much baggage, and he can't explain it away. And then yet again, he has a history of treating people poorly. He has a history of treating people like trash. And if you're willing to lie to somebody for any extended period of time, you clearly don't respect them. Well, what's going to make you respect one person over somebody else? And yet again, the way DSP does anything is the way he does everything. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the problem for DSP anyway. That was the problem with the side scroller situation, the side scroller interview. Here, let's actually go ahead and transition. Get you guys a sandwich and get yourselves a sandwich and a cappuccino or something on our way out of this. That right there is the residuals, if you will, of the side scroller thing. You went and sat there and lied to those people for 5+ hours. They gave you all the opportunities to dispel shit, and you went out of your way to come up with excuses not to do so. The amount of people who watched that spans further than just people who watch Detractor content. You know what I mean? And DSP never seemed to understand that, but keep in mind, DSP wanted that interview / interrogation / whatever to be the definitive video, if you will, as it pertains to any questions that he was willing to answer that they may have about him. But then you admit, what, 16 months later, 18 months later, that you lied the entire time? You see what I'm saying? So, yet again, he can blame detractors, trolls, haters, and critics all he wants. But at the end of the day, people will always look at you before they look at anybody else. As it pertains to, oh, well, we would, but the detractors are gonna dox us and they're gonna come at us, and then KiwiFarms. As it pertains to that whole detractor thing, it's a small demographic. Most of those people are dense anyway. It is what it is on that. That's really gonna take that shit too far, I should say. Your good Samaritans who are like, hey, maybe you should check out this, this, and this, or if DSP has actually said anything about them, you should check out this, this, and this. That's one thing. But people who are purposely trying to drum shit up to get a reaction out of fucking Phil and using you guys as the catalyst, that's a very small demographic that does that shit. And it's an even smaller demographic, I think, that even condones it. So there's that. At the end of the day, he's done everything in his power to have the failure that he's had, and he's deserved it. And then the reality, in closing, ladies and gentlemen, is DSP wants to come across as being normal. He really, really believes that he's just a normal guy who's had insanely bad luck and also has had a bunch of bad takes, and people just won't let it go. But that's ironic because he doesn't let shit go with other people. He's still holding shit against the Cannon brothers. He's still holding shit against West Coast players in general. He's still holding shit against PewDiePie and Markiplier and Max and all those guys. So how are you going to tell other people to let go, get a life, touch grass when you can't even do that shit? What sense does that make? As it pertains to the begging, well, like I said, this was back in, this was, let's see here, September 9th. I'm not sure when you guys are going to see this, but I assume it'll be middle, probably should be soon, actually. So we're talking about middle of September, I'm sorry. And the begging has ramped up. And because of, like I said, the addition of those new kick bits, I'm just going to call it that for the lack of a better term, he's begging even more. And it's for pennies. It's for pennies, if you think about it. Which is insane to me. Like, you don't have no fucking pride for that shit at all? I mean, don't be wrong, when he was begging for bits on Twitch, I thought it was pathetic. But now you're doing it on Kick. It doesn't get any worse than that. And more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, if you're someone who's outside of the detractor sphere, why would you want to associate yourself with someone like that who begs for pennies? He begs for food. He begs, quote unquote, he begs to do his quote unquote job daily without any type of shame whatsoever. He's gone out of his way to try to justify that. What can you really expect to get out of him? And even more importantly than that, ladies and gentlemen, what can he really bring to any conversation about anything? The moment you figure that out, you can figure out why DSP doesn't get invited anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. Catch you guys for the next one of these, whenever that may be. Hopefully sooner than later. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Snort Report, and this has been DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. Oh yes, a GTG network of productions. For all of our subsidiaries and affiliates, and so on and so on, I've been your host / anchor GTG, and I'm signing off. Take care of yourselves, people. Take care of yourselves, people. Later.